What's going on, y'all? It's Jacob. And okay, before we get started with the e-tuning versus dyno tuning conversation, I just wanted to give a huge thanks to all of you guys for the support and for the encouragement and the comments and this, that, and the other. Honestly, it's been a really cool experience. I've gotten to meet some of you. I've gotten to talk to some of you on YouTube or on Instagram and that sort of thing. So I really appreciate it. And honestly, the last thing I would want to do is have a channel and not be able to interact with people with common interest, or people who are doing similar builds or have questions or having issues with their car. So like always, if you got any comments or questions, hit me up in the comments. I'll try to respond to all the comments the best I can. So, e-tuning versus dyno tuning. So I got the car built and obviously spent the money, spent the time, spent the energy to build the car. So ideally, I could have maxed out the setup as soon as possible, broke the motor in, 1,000 miles or whatever, and been seeing the fullest potential of the build. But the one shop in Georgia who I trusted to tune this car was not doing in-house dyno tuning because of COVID. So I started looking around, making phone calls. It would have been a drive. It would have been out of state. And I started weighing out the pros and cons of e-tuning versus dyno tuning. So the pros of dyno tuning obviously being you are maximizing your setup in one session or two sessions, and then it's done. The car's running and it's running well. I guess another pro of dyno tuning would be that you have a professional sitting there logging everything as he's doing the pulls, and he can let off, he can adjust. If anything were to go wrong, it's not going to be on the street. It's going to be in an enclosed environment. So yes, in a sense, dyno tuning can be ideal, but here's why I chose e-tuning after kind of a few days of thinking about it. So this is the first car I've built to this extent, and I was already assuming that I was going to run into some issues, and I did run into some issues. So the first one being the PCV hose behind the intake manifold was not clipped in all the way. It popped off, sent the car into limp mode, almost had to get it towed home. A few weeks later, we're having fuel issues, replaced the high pressure fuel pump, didn't fix the issue, had to track down a wiring issue. The other night, I was running it to the top of third and went to shift to fourth. It let out a big old backfire, and I don't know what happened. I guess the stock ECU did not like what happened, and the car freaked out. It went into limp mode, check engine light, oil light, all this stuff came on. So I pulled over. I was like, this is it. And luckily I turned the car off, turned it back on, and it was completely fine. So e-tuning has worked in my favor because I have had the flexibility to work out issues on my own time without wasting a 5, 6, 7, 8 hour trip out of state to a dyno and potentially wasting a session, if you know what I'm talking about. I've had the flexibility to change tires, change fuel parts, change plugs, regap plugs, fill up with different types of fuel, experiment with different gas stations that have E85 around here. This, that, and the other. It's kind of taken the pressure off for 1 or 2 dyno sessions. It's cheaper, e-tuning. It takes a lot longer, as you probably know, but it is cheaper. And in my opinion, once you break in a motor, you should be good to go, but it never hurts to ramp up the power progressively over the course of a few oil changes, several 10, 20 heat cycles. And that's essentially what you do with e-tuning is, you know, we're tuning the car, we're slowly, steadily ramping up boost, and the car has had several oil changes on full synthetic now, and it's good and broken in. The clutch is broken in, the diff is broken in, and that gives me peace of mind knowing that I didn't just finish a build, break the motor in, I only have 1,000 miles on the build, and I take it to a shop and they're like, all right, we're gonna turn this thing all the way up. It just makes a little more sense to me to do it progressively. And just a side note to go alongside of that, I think there's a common misconception that with e-tuning on a new setup, it's going to take several months and the car is going to run like crap until everything's finalized. That is not true at all. So Alex was stratified. He takes his time on the revisions. He makes sure each revision is safe so that I can go be an idiot in the car and not blow it up. So it's reassuring. Like, all the videos on the channel thus far have not been a finalized tune. They've been revisions, and we're bumping up boost, we're bumping up timing, and there hasn't been any issues. As long as you have an access port and you're keeping an eye on your air fuels and your fuel pressure and all of that, and you're not doing pulls with no fuel, and you're, you know, kind of acting as the tuner in your car when you go out and data log, then you'll be fine. Just don't run the car if there's obvious issues going on, and you'll be straight. And when you're e-tuning, you have a expert with the platform who's on your team, who's tuning the car, who wants to see the car do well. And shout out to Stratified Automotive. It is a long process. These guys have tens of hundreds of clients who they're tuning all these cars, and yeah, it's going to take some time. So you got to be willing to wait a week or more for a revision. I'm completely fine with it. I mean, this car, it's quick. It is a quick car already, and I don't mind, you know, waiting, enjoying the car between each revision. But Stratified has been there every step of the way. Whenever I have issues, they don't hesitate to look over the data logs and give me advice, this, that, and the other. And it's been a great experience e-tuning, in my opinion. And you know, every time you get a new tune in an email, it's like it's exciting. Like it's a little present in your inbox, you know, and you know you're gonna make a little bit more power. The car's gonna run a little better. So it's exciting to see the car progress. And I've been following the data logs and reading through my data logs and kind of learning about tuning as we go along. What Alex is doing to the car, what is he having to edit and do to fuel and timing, and how did he adjust the volumetric efficiency with the VVTs, and how did he make those stage 3 cams work. It's just been a cool experience all around. But if you're not familiar, this is the COB software for the access port, and this is the V4 split second, or R4 split second software. It's kind of archaic, but you know, it works, and just plugs into the box over here. But that's another reason why I was so picky with this car in particular. It's because it's got so many different moving parts. So we have a separate fuel map for the port injection that has to be tuned, and it has to coincide with the car's ECU tune, and then you have to tune the car, and it has aftermarket cams which have to be retuned for the ECU, dialing in volumetric efficiency, which is basically, it's kind of complicated, to be honest with you. It's, my understanding is it's basically a ratio of the air going into the cylinders to the air in the manifold, I think. And the efficiency part of it is you want to fill up those cylinders in each stroke. So you don't want the valves closing early or staying open too long and you're losing your air. You want that efficiency to be as high as possible. And when you put new cams in, you have to completely tune all of that back into the car. So hopefully this helps shed some light on the e-tuning, dyno tuning conversation. There are benefits to both, depending on where you live and the shops you have access to. E-tuning could be better for you, and depending on your build, I wouldn't feel comfortable just taking, especially a car like this, to anyone. I want someone who is a professional in the EcoBoost platform to tune the car. So, as always, if y'all have any questions or comments, let me know. The car is doing amazing. It's doing really good, which, you know, it was my first build, so I'm honestly, I'm a little bit surprised, and I don't know what I'm doing. So it's been a cool process. But Alex said that we just got over the 500 wheel horsepower mark within the last couple revisions, which is a surprising. You know, the last few videos, if you've seen them, this car is keeping up with other cars making a lot more power. And I think that's just a huge testament to power to weight ratio, and to this car's third gear is nasty. It's nasty. So on a closed course, of course, I'm usually doing third gear from like 50 to 105 to 110. It's nice and long, and if you don't have a huge turbo 62 or something, you can utilize that power down low and run out the whole entire gear. So I've had a couple people comment like what are you revving to, or just commenting on how long the gears seemed. And yeah, it feels like you're in third forever, but hey, as we keep turning it up, that third gear keeps getting shorter and shorter. And like I've said, whenever we get the tuning finalized and everything's good to go, I'll take it to a dyno, and we'll see what kind of numbers it's putting down on the G25 660. So e-tuning versus dyno tuning, can't go wrong with either. In my case scenario, e-tuning I think was the better decision for me, considering I would have had to go out of state, considering I've had multiple issues with the car that I've had to sort out. And it just gives me that flexibility to get used to the car, replace parts, and have, in my case scenario, Stratified Automotive on the other end of the line to help me out with the car as it progresses. So hope all y'all are doing well. Once this nasty weather clears up, we'll get some more videos, we'll get some more live action with the car. But until next time, peace out. Y'all take care.